applause for the band down in the turntable pit. We'll get underway shortly. Introduce myself. I'm James Duggan. I was chairman of the Clare Railway Centenary Committee, which I was asked to take part in 3 years ago. What's going to happen today is we have a train coming. This is a very special train. Hopefully it'll be here at midday, as it did in 1918. The train will be coming from down the south, and when it gets here, we need as much applause and cheering to welcome it here.
Okay, 3 cheers for the train, please. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
Now the high school will play Song of Australia. Welcome everyone to this lovely Clare winter's day, and it was very much the same 100 years ago. I can't forget the little band of history enthusiasts, and not necessarily railway gunzels, and that's a term for someone who chases and photographs trains. Now take you back 100 years and imagine this area as the train arrived in Clare at the new station, which was situated about 400 metres that way on this side of the hill. The landscape would have looked very different, with new buildings, fresh rails, sleepers, ballast, steam hissing from the locomotives present, a large and excited crowd assembled with colourful banners and flags flying overhead. The station yard would have still been a fresh scar in the side of the hills, with very little vegetation of which we can see around us today. There were 2 trains on that day. One came up from Riverton, collecting those that wanted to be here for the celebrations, and then the official train. First, how do you commemorate a railway centenary when all railway infrastructure had been removed in the 1990s? The suggestion of the old ash pit, which is underneath here, and the turntable, apart from the crane and the gate behind, there's a gate back here which we worked out is 100 years old, that's all the infrastructure that is left. From there, the idea of a steel cutout or silhouette of a locomotive that could be mounted on a section of re-laid rail track would be a big attraction alongside the Reesing Trail, and in an impressive way to commemorate the centenary. The locomotive chosen for the silhouette pulled the official train into Clare in 1918. It is an S-Class 440, which means it's got 4 leading wheels, 4 driving wheels, and no trailing wheels. Built for South Australian Railways in 1894 by James Martin and Company of Gawler. It weighed 82 tonne to hundredweight, 83.2 metric tonnes, carried 156 hundredweight of coal, 7 metric tonnes, 3,750 gallons, which is 17,050 litres of water, and was 57 feet, 17.3 metres long. The silhouette is 12.1. It had the largest driving wheels on a locomotive in the South Australian Railways at the time, being 6'6". All were condemned between 1956 and 1960 and cut up not long after. So if I could ask Mary, wife of the last station master, Glenn Lucock, great-great-great-grandson of William Lucock, Ivan Victor, grandson of Steve Victor, to come forward and together unveil the plaque holding the centenary of the first official train and the opening of the line, And also invite Ryan Lucock to come and hold the framed original pieces of the ribbon that were held for the cutting of the ribbon in 1918.
Yeah.
My name's Bob Sampson. I'm the Executive Officer of the National Railway Museum, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here today for this wonderful self-supporting, non-government funded, voluntary operated museum. We're happy to say that we get about 50,000 visitors through the gate a year, as well as about 14,000 people enjoy a train ride along the beach with our steam train at Semaphore. I also wish to acknowledge our very special guest for today, Monica McInerney, all the way from Ireland. Very good. And also our very trusted supporters for many, many years, Mark Butler, Federal Member for Port Adelaide, I think. And of course Susan Close, the State Member for Port Adelaide, the Deputy Leader of the State Opposition. So welcome to you both. And then we can look forward to the book launch and to hear from the wonderful Monica herself. And during the day there'll be plenty of opportunities to chat with Monica and the author of the book, of course, Dr. John Wilson. So there'll also be a couple of special train trips. Monica's going to drive our full-size steam engine Perron, so obviously we'll encourage people to get on her train.
He knows a lot about railways already. I'm just giving you the drum. Now the steam is collected in the dome, which is that large. Yep, you're right. Yep, which is that large black dome. So basically, the water boils in the boiler. The steam rises to the top. Yep. In the top of that dome, there's a big valve inside. So that's like the throttle valve. We call it the regulator valve. Yep. And this handle here is what operates that. So this is like the throttle or the accelerator on your car. Yep. This here is a reverser, so this determines the direction of the engine. The efficiency of the engine, so it uses steam expansion properties rather than brute force. Right. If that makes sense. Yes, it does, yeah, so, exactly, yeah. Yeah, when you expand steam into atmosphere, it expands. So what's the fastest this goes? It wasn't designed as a speed engine. This used to work in the Port Perry smelters, shunting wagons around. Right, yeah. So really, I don't know, sort of maybe 25 kilometres an hour would be sort of at its top end. Get it there. Okay, I'll just do a few pictures. So I'm about a 6-year-old excited child. He'll be down the back being our eyes on the way out. Right. And then we'll fend for ourselves coming back. We've got a green flag down there. Oh yeah, right, yep. So now you can put on the whistle.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce rail historian and author Dr. John Wilson, someone who I've known and respected for almost 50 years. John used to pick me up from Adelaide Boys High School, Coringa on Coringa, when I was quite young chasing trains. So, John Wilson.
The bill that was presented to Parliament in 1912 was for a railway with tight curves, steep 1 in 60 grades and second-hand rails. It was a railway to Clare that was built on the cheap. The first passenger services were by slow mixed trains, a goods train with a carriage attached that shunted at every station. Then in 1924, Chief Commissioner Webb introduced the first of the Barwell Bull rail cars, but we weren't supposed to call them that. They were fast but rough riding. The museum's rail car number 8 is presently being restored as an example. The people of Clare didn't complain because now they could travel to town and back in a day and have a few hours in the city to do their business. In 1927 there were larger and faster Barwell bulls. Number 41 is out on the Jackets platform. The larger Model 75 rail cars were rather rough riding. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, Clare's Member of Parliament was Percival Hillam Quirk. He called on the government to replace the old rail cars with modern air-conditioned carriages and to replace the worn-out rails. He appealed to Parliament. I have asked the Minister of Railways and the Railways Commissioner to take a trip by rail car from Riverton to Clare, and people in my district are prepared to care for their ills and dislocations on arrival at Clare, for they must suffer the same dislocations as regular travellers on that line whose bones are a jangling mass for a week after the trip. In time, the railways responded to this in 1954 by replacing the rail car with a road bus. That, by all accounts, was a worse ride than the rail car. It then dawned on the people of Clare that after long pleading for a better rail service, they now had none. Exactly 9 p.m. and we are travelling from Adelaide to Clare on the Broken Hill Express to Riverton. The engine was a 520 class, but damn, we forgot to get the number. For at Riverton we must change trains. We have grabbed a cup of coffee and a slice of sultana cake. That cup of coffee will be the only source of warmth to sustain us on our trip to Clare. The Clare Line rail car is ticking away next to the island platform, which means that we have to go down through the subway. The signal cabin has rung the bell to warn of 3 minutes to departure. The driver has been given his train order, proceed to Spalding, report Clare. In the dim distance we can see the faint red glow of the marker lamps of the Broken Hill Express disappearing towards Saddleworth. As we climb aboard we survey the packed rail car and its full load of parcels and luggage. It is so loaded that some of our fellow passengers are huddled in the baggage compartment with the driver. At least they're able to get some warmth from the engine cover. We wonder if the rail car will manage the load and make it up the tight uphill stretch out of Riverton. Often it doesn't and has to roll back to Riverton to have another go. The signal has turned to green. Now I'd like to now take you back to 1954 to enjoy a musical rail car ride with the Wilson family singers. Pat on the ukulele, Tamara is our daughter-in-law, and in descending order of size, Poppy, Isabel and Elise with the Riverton Railcar Blues.
I've got them brass bucket rattling, Riverton Railcar Blues. Brass bucket rattling, Riverton Railcar Blues. It'll jangle your bones from your head down to your shoes. Rust bucket rattling, Riverton Railcar Blues. Put your fingers in your ears when the driver changes gears. Got them rust bucket rattling, Riverton Railcar Blues. I've got them rattle trap, rickety, Riverton Railcar shakes. Rattle trap, rickety, Riverton Railcar shakes. It'll shudder and jolt with every trip it makes. Rattle trap, rickety, Riverton Railcar shakes. If it climbs the hill to Clare, clap your hands up in the air. Got them rattle trap, rickety, Riverton Railcar shakes. I've got them ragtag, ramshackle, Riverton Railcar woes. Ragtag, ramshackle, Riverton Railcar woes. It's amazing that this old contraption really truly goes. Ragtag, ramshackle, Riverton Railcar woes. When the driver blows blast the horn, you wish you'd never been born. Got them ragtag, ramshackle, Riverton railcar bones. I've got them rough, ride and rowdy, Riverton railcar blues. Rough, ride and rowdy, Riverton railcar blues. Since the traffic manager paid off all the railway crews. Rough, ride and rowdy, Riverton railcar blues. With the driver's foot down to the floor, shakes your teeth out of your jaw. How sad that our Riverton railcar we did lose. I've got them rust bucket rattling, Riverton railcar blues. Rust bucket rattling, Riverton railcar blues. It no longer runs and we never got to choose. Rust bucket rattling, Riverton railcar blues. Clare trains are no more, it's a thing we all deplore. Got them rust bucket rattling, Riverton railcar blues.
Today you can still sample what it was like to travel by train at the National Railway Museum. In early 1900s style, car 144, or the late 1950s, 60 style, on board the Red Hen or Bluebird.